And round 8 took place at Spa, where the folklore says it must always rain on a race weekend. In practice, it did just that. Typical Spa weather, Eau Rouge looking cold and wet as ever, the misty spray hanging between the pine trees of the Ardennes forest. Always tricky, Spa is doubly so in the wet, and just about every driver, especially the top teams who must try harder to stay in the title race, has a fairly important moment. Luckily though, they're usually in private. And also luckily, they're usually non-injurious to anything beyond car and pride. Andrea Chiesa here surveying the wreckage of his Q8 Team Ford, thinking himself lucky that most of his moments have been in practice throughout the season. When the grid forms up for the race though, the weather's dry and the cars are all on slicks. Eric Comas is in pole position, Jean Alesi alongside him, Eric Bernard and JJ Leto making up the second row of the grid. The rest of the field on this downhill right-hand slant at Spa. You can just about see the lights. There go the reds and the greens, and that's the field rolling. And it's Jean Alesi who gets the best start with Eric van der Poel, and he's racing on home territory, remember, sneaking in front of JJ Leto off the line. And although it's stopped raining, there's still plenty of moisture on the track, and it'll be some time before there's a dry line. Just look at the mist hanging over the racing surface. These are tricky conditions for drivers still on slicks who are looking to find the dry line in 3 or 4 laps time, and remember Spa, quite a long circuit. Alesi then the leader, Alesi then out in front, still plenty of spray coming up from this pack, and Bernard challenging and going through. He takes Van der Poel as well, relegates the Belgian back to 4th place. Jean Alesi then leading from the pair of Dams Lolas. It's Comas, Bernard and Van der Poel, and these front 4 really are beginning to move away. You can see the dry line there beginning to clear up on the track, and you can see the way the drivers are all following it. But look at Van der Poel there, just stepping outside the dry line and kicking up plenty of spray from his right-hand slicks. This really is driving on the edge. Philippe Favre still in the running, about 7th or 8th place there. And that's Cor Uza from Bromley Motorsport, a spin there at La Source. And you can see that some parts of the circuit are drier than others, and the drivers really have to take very great care. Bernard, though, has sneaked in front of Eric Comas. Alesi still the leader, and the track definitely beginning to dry up, although you still get those occasional flicks of spray when one of the drivers strays off the line. The order at the front still the same, Jean Alesi, from Eric Bernard, from Eric Comas. And Alesi has a very comfortable margin. 4th place there, the Belgian Van der Poel. Still this damp section at the back of the track, and Bernard slip sliding there, a complete 180, lost it totally. Just put one wheel over on the wet bit, and that was him spun. That's his 2nd place finished. Alesi making no mistake at the front. And of course he has a bigger margin back now to 2nd place Eric Comas, and Van der Poel being reeled in by JJ Leto and by Marco Apicella. That's Emanuele Naspetti off on the grass. Apicella beginning to pressure Leto considerably. Leto looking for a way round Van der Poel, hoping to find someone he can put between himself and the car behind him. But look at Apicella off on the wet, kicking up the spray, holding his line though, and a perfect overtaking manoeuvre to sneak a place over JJ Leto. Once again, the racing in this Formula 3000 series not at the front, but it's 2nd, 3rd, 4th and 5th which provide all the excitement. Apicella now in front of JJ Leto, and still these cars sliding about, just half a wheel off onto the wet, that's all it takes, and away goes the back. Apicella through the inside there, takes Van der Poel. Van der Poel forced out onto the Nigel Mansell line, picks up some water on his tyres and all over the place as he struggles to collect it. Jean Alesi still the leader, and look at the way Eric Comas has closed up right behind him. Comas putting Alesi under a great deal of pressure now. Alesi already showed once that he can resist it, but Comas making a move. Ooh, Comas locks up a front wheel, goes wide at La Source, and he has to take the Nigel Mansell line round here. He too must have picked up some water on his tyres and must take it carefully. That has given Jean Alesi the safety margin he needed, a very comfortable cushion for the rest of the race. Alesi then round the bus stop for the very last time. And Eric Comas simply hasn't been able to catch him up. Alesi then coming down the hill past the pits for the final time to take the checkered flag. He's the winner. He takes 9 points home from this weekend. Eric Comas finishes second, but the real scrap is for third, fourth and fifth between Apicella, Leto and Van der Poel. They take the final corner, locked almost side by side. Leto goes wide, fights his way back onto the track, pushes Van der Poel over. Apicella takes the place, then Van der Poel and then Leto. But the real hero of the day must be the winner, Jean Alesi.
Yes, but you know, start is very difficult to explain why the start is very good. It's sometimes it's good, sometimes it's very bad. I think today, for me, it was very important to start very well.
And perhaps the championship next week?
It's in Le Mans. I hope to win the championship.
Well, even with 2 more rounds to go, Alesi can afford to relax, even though there's a queue of